Hi, welcome to the Anime Social Club. We hope you enjoy your stay.
That was pretty fun.
Your friend will catch cold sleeping like that.
I'm home, everyone!
Just a humble bounty hunter, man.
All right. Well, I think we're good. We're good. Yo, what is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Anime Social Club once again with your boy Kid Benji. Joining with me today, this week, almost every week, is your girl. You know her, the Queen Kuro. What's
Hi.
good?
I just had my first day of classes again, so
Nice. I know.
we're back in the grind.
Well, thank God you're back for this week's episode, because doing it by myself was not that fun, to be honest. Oh my God.
I was a bit worried about you. I wasn't sure.
Yeah, talking for an hour and straight can really mess with your head, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah, but as you guys can see, we do not have Etyo this week. He is unfortunately sick. He was actually supposed to be on, but he was not gonna recover in time for the for the podcast, basically. So hopefully he'll be back at full strength next week. But we'll see. It's on a possible. Hopefully he's better by then. So which would really suck to not have him 2 weeks in a row. But as you guys always know, we keep the show going. No matter what or how much we suffer, we keep doing it as big as we can. So with all that being said, be sure to check out the audio version of this podcast if you're watching it on video. And if you want to just have it with you when you're like traveling around, you can't watch the video version. And if you're listening to the audio version, and if you want to get a little bit more of the experience with the Twitch chat, then you can watch us on YouTube. Just search for Anime Social Club, as well as joining us on all our social medias, our Discord. And if you want to catch us live, we go live every Thursday at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Sometimes we go a little bit before, and then we go on a little bit after, have a pre and after show. So if you guys want more of that, check out the live stream when it happens. So, but yeah, it's gonna be another good week this week as well. We're gonna be jumping into anime movies and stuff, just like a reference in the title. And so anime movies. There has, surprisingly enough, we've been watching a shit ton of anime movies. Right, especially you, Kuro, right?
Yes, yeah, I've been watching a lot.
Yeah, especially this year, doing the whole club thing and watching essentially like a new movie every single week has been pretty cool. Because before this year, I'd only ever seen like 2 or 3 anime movies ever. Really? Yeah, and they were all just obviously like Miyazaki films for the most part.
So you're kind of new to anime films, I guess you'd say.
Yeah. As a whole, I'm not really. Well,
I mean, obviously you've watched a lot now.
Yeah, I mean, I should say like mostly non-franchise films.
Yeah.
Because I did watch like a lot of the Dragon Ball Z and Naruto films when they were out, but I don't even really consider those like anime movies. They're more so just like they're more like OVAs than anything. They're just extensions of the actual show itself. You know what I mean? It's not this like one whole encased story that you can kind of separate from the show. You're always gonna connect it back, no matter how canon it is or isn't.
I agree.
But so and you have been watching more anime movies, right? Because you're trying to hit your challenge this year, I believe.
Yes. Yeah. So I'm watching 100 anime within the year, which I know people like Akari would say that's easy, but not for me. So I've definitely been popping up watching movies more often because it's easier to add them to my list than full-fledged series. Granted, I've watched a lot of full-fledged series too, but the movies definitely help fill up the list.
Yeah, I feel it. I feel it. Um, okay, so let's go ahead and we'll move on to the first question that we have here for both of us. Which we'll just go back and forth.
Yeah.
Blowing. So what is your overall opinion on anime films? So I'll start off with this one. I think they're bad overall. I'm not a big fan of anime films in general. I mean, it mostly has to do with like there's like this weird balance that I think an anime film has to achieve. Like I want it to have like a good mix of like being an actual movie while also still maintaining the feel of like an anime, right? Because it seems to me that a lot of these movies like kind of fall short, um, or they have to go on really long. Like and when they do have like an in between time, right? It seems like you don't really get like a full story. At least from what I've experienced. I mean, I'm starting to watch as I watch more and more and more. I'm like, oh, like you really can't have like a complete movie, but um, I don't know. I just think there's like I guess my perception of anime movies is different when it comes to just like watching regular movies. I don't know, but um I just feel like like that whole space hasn't really reached like this pinnacle where it's like, oh, this is like we're having like a bunch of really amazing movies releasing like, one at a time. You know what I mean? Like just one hit after another. Because like if you look like in the 90s, there were years where you got like some of the most iconic films back to back to back, you know? And here with anime movies, I feel like we get like one every couple of years, that's like on that level of like being iconic. Um, but that's just what I've seen. Maybe I do need it. So Akari says you need to watch more movies. Then yeah, maybe I do. Maybe I do need to watch more anime movies. Because at this point I've seen what month is it? It's August. That's 8 months. I've seen maybe 30. No, I haven't seen 32 movies. I lied because this hasn't been going on the entire year. Maybe like in May. So maybe like 15 movies, more or less. I don't know. I'd have to go back and count. But yeah, we're gonna go over a list of some stuff specifically. But what about you, Kira? How do you feel about anime films in general?
Yeah, so I love anime films, but I I've always liked movies in general, but I never found myself like super attached to a lot of like mainstream or I guess not anime films. I love horror films, and that's definitely a genre that I like, but horror films in anime is not a super huge market in comparison to the other types of films they make. Never really cared about too many drama films. I like Marvel, but like everyone likes Marvel. It's not really that special. So yeah, I never had like a huge passion for movies. And so when I started watching more anime movies, I found that the type of stories that they tell in them, I resonate with more. And maybe that's just because I'm a fucking weeb. But either way, I do really enjoy anime films overall. And yeah, like you said, a lot of them, some of them don't feel finished and perfect, which we'll get into with specific films. But based on my experience, especially in this binge of films I've been doing, I find myself loving them more and more. And I like, I actually lately don't even feel like watching like anime series. I'm like, oh, I could just watch another movie.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah. Yeah, because that whole like it's funny because when you think about how long movies in general have been around and how long anime movies have really been a thing. Movies obviously just like traditional like the Hollywood films industry has
Yeah.
been around like forever, and obviously like the animated film industry hasn't been around as long, just like technology wise.
Yeah.
So I think we'll get to a point where we'll start to get a lot of these different um movies out, right? Where
Yeah.
we get a lot of
Yeah.
like big hits um within the
Yeah. I mean,
same
I
year,
think
but
I think the anime film market is also very new when you think about it, because especially before the 2000s, there were very few. Like I can only think of like four, maybe big name anime films that got recognition and still get recognition. Other than that, like it's and even now, like if you exempt Studio Ghibli, the film market is very new. Directors and the films that are popular. So yeah, I think it's definitely a fresh market, and we find more and more every year the anime films are starting to show more in the West. They're getting more popular, stuff like that. So I think it's just sort of a new market when you look at it kind of globally in comparison to the regular film market.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I will say it's been improving year after year.
Yeah.
But yeah, so apart from that, so when it comes to films, or anime films specifically, do you lean more towards the studio or the director? Like, is you more excited when you see like a specific person directing or a studio behind it? What really like kind of like pulls you in just off of the names you'd read on the credits?
Definitely director. I mean, I think the studio does matter a bit, because, like, if it's a lackluster studio that's doing the film, then, it might not be up to your expectations. But at the same time, some films benefit from a lackluster production, depending on the type of film it is. And I find that there are quite a few films that I really liked that didn't necessarily have the most fantastic film budget or anything like that, but the story was really there, and the director did a great job with it. So yeah, I definitely value director over studio way more. But studio is important. If it's a really really good studio doing it, and it might be like a new director, I'd still probably consider it, because if I like a certain studio's work, like Production IG, for example. Because I know they do a lot of films. Like I like Production IG a lot, so if I heard they were doing a film, I would probably go see it.
Yeah, yeah, and I would actually agree. Director over studio,
Mhm.
for movies, and then with anime, it's studio over director. Um,
Yeah, I would agree. There's only very few anime like TV series directors that like most people look out for. Generally, it's the studio.
yeah, yeah, and the the whole thing. I mean, it really comes down to just director just has more control overall of
Yeah,
where something goes. So you have more of like a style that you can really expect and gain from watching a movie by a certain person.
hmm
Hosoda, for example, like when you before you even see the movie, like just by saying the name, you have a perception of like what you expect from it. So
yeah,
I think that's one reason why I like having anime movies as another option to experience the medium, because it's another way to enjoy some of the people that like really get behind these projects, where you're not just totally bound by the studio releasing content
yeah,
within anime. You can look forward to like a specific director in the movie space. So
yeah.
um and yeah, so finally in our quick little summary thing is franchise films versus originals. I think franchise films are I don't like franchise films at all. I'm all for originals 100%. Because if like why would I watch a franchise film? I might as well just watch a show. Yeah, I get that there can be additions onto it as a whole, but rarely would I ever really like. If you gave me the option, I'd always pick the original over the franchise film. And
Yeah,
I blame, well, not really blame. I mean, you can't really blame, but it's like like franchise films are the big reason why we don't get a lot of action independent originals anime films, because like what's the point of making one when you can just attach it to a franchise and then boom, like instant money. So you get like
yeah,
a billion One Piece and Naruto and Bleach. Like you have all these action films, but they're all attached to this IP that's been around for like ever, so they can guarantee that it sells. Whereas
yeah.
if you look back like in the 80s and 90s, you got a bunch of different action films. You know what I mean?
hmm
But it's like yeah, it's like there's like a give and take there. But man, that's why sort of the Stranger. Ooh Lord, I love that movie. Movie was Fantastic. Probably my
We'll get it. We'll be able to get into that.
my favorite.
Yes.
So what about you? Franchise versus originals?
Yeah, I definitely agree. I'm more of an originals person. I tend to, even though there are some franchise films that I absolutely love, they're some of my favorite films. I think they're astounding. Whenever a franchise announces a film, I don't necessarily have high expectations unless it's certain franchises. Like, I'll get into it, but like for example, if a One Piece film is announced, typically if it's written by Oda, then I'm excited and I expect it to be good. But if it's not written by Oda, then I have no expectations for it. Another franchise that I'll get into, I mean, they've only done 2 movies, but yeah, Gintama also does great films. Both of them were great. But other than that, I mean, even my favorite anime franchise, when they announced a film, I did not know if it was going to be good or not. I didn't really have any expectations. It ended up being really good. But yeah, I find myself expecting more from originals and enjoying them a bit more. Yeah, Gintama just does everything great. Kari said even the live action Gintama was great. Yeah, but outside of that, I find originals more enjoyable generally. Even out of the few franchise films that I enjoy, they're still a bit lower than some originals. So,
Yeah. We're gonna dive a little bit more into the original franchise and then a little bit genre specific. Once we get to the end of this, but we definitely want to touch back on directors and studios to discuss. I mean, so most of you guys already know some of the big studios like Madhouse, Production IG, a lot of these other companies that because most anime studios, like, they do movies as well, for the most part. So you can really look out for them. But when it comes to directors usually stick to either movies or just anime. Some I think should direct anime, to be honest, but
yeah. So I put together a list of some of the more, basically 3 of the pretty much the most famous, I think anyway, anime film directors that are pretty popular, and then obviously a certain studio as well. But I figured we could go through most of these big name films because I kind of scrolled through all the anime websites and went through the first 3 or 4 pages of films, and all of these were on them. So pretty much all these were on the first or second page, actually. So I figured it was a good thing to dive into.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I don't know what the industry looks like, but to be an anime director, like, that must be one of the hardest jobs ever, because each time we'd watch a movie, right? I would go and look up the Wikipedia for the movie, and I'd go look at the director, and the director usually only gets like 1 chance.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. It's really hard to
it's like you have to kill it on your first one or else you're like done,
Yeah.
They're like, oh, we'll just have someone else direct it, for like whatever the next one would be, or they just go back to doing traditional like just the franchise movies, which I'm not saying that's like a death sentence, but I mean, you kind of want to do your own work.
Talk for like 1 minute. I gotta get my charger.
Yeah, go for it. So one famous director that is, I think he's absolutely killing it nowadays. I mean, it's pretty much like his time, which is Makoto Shinkai. Whatever he releases, like, it's pretty much guaranteed to be popular or like pretty much a hit. He's done films such as Your Name, 5 centimeters per second, Garden of Words, and most recently Weathering Into You, which is absolutely killing it in the box office right now. Everybody's wanting to go see it. So it's good that we have a name like Shinkai in the space, because it's a pull and draw and an incentive for people to go and support the anime film industry, albeit however small it may be for right now. But I mean, I've only seen Your Name from him. I need to watch the other ones. Like, they've been on the list. I'm more into these next 2 directors, but the luck of the draw has been mostly these other two directors' movies, but not a bunch of Shinkai. I do plan to go through all of his movies and eventually knock them all out of the park, but I've heard of all of them. I've seen screenshots from all of them, and I've heard nothing but praise for all of them. Even though some people like to be pretty controversial on the 5 centimeters per second film. However, it's for any reason that you watch it, it's still worth to see because of the stunning animation that it has. So what's your experience with Shinkai, Kura?
I think Shinkai is probably the biggest director name right now. I would say easily in terms of what people are expecting next. I mean, Weathering into You is doing so well in the box office because they hear Shinkai and they're excited. Now, as Ikari said, he hated how popular Your Name was. He was scared he couldn't do it again. I can totally understand that. I think any director whose movie topped the charts in their country, I mean, that would definitely be very worrisome. But yeah, I find Shinkai to be the biggest name right now because of Your Name. And I think Your Name actually achieved that bridge to maybe bringing anime films more to the Western front. Now, obviously, Ghibli has done that before, but Ghibli is much associated with Disney at this point, kind of in America. And even then, I don't know. We'll get into it when we talk about Ghibli, but I think Shinkai is building more of that popularity with anime films in general, because I think after Your Name, a lot of theaters were more willing to show anime films because they saw how popular Your Name ended up being, and especially because it's a more Western relatable series or film, I think. But I have liked everything of Shinkai's that I've seen so far. I have done Your Name in 5 centimeters. I'm going to watch Garden of Words like probably this weekend, in all honesty. And some of his other works I will get to at some point, but those are really the big ones. But I like his style. I like the type of stories he tries to tell. And obviously the art style is gorgeous. I'm definitely a huge 5 centimeters fan, and it's a controversial thing, but we talked about it in our last podcast, so it's fine. But yeah, I do really like Shinkai. I know, I've heard, General Franchi says, I love his cat anime, though. I've heard about the cat anime, and I'm going to watch it because everybody seems to actually really like it.
You just like anything
with
yeah, cats.
Right? I do. I love anything with cats, in all honesty. But yeah, I do enjoy Shinkai. I like his style, and I'm excited to see more of him in the future. Hopefully he doesn't burn out too much from the stress because I totally understand that Your Name was a big stressor, and I'm sure there are people comparing Weathering into You in it, despite I would never do that because Your Name is that's too much stress on Shinkai. I've heard it's good, but I understand that it's probably hard for him.
I just want to see him come out of left field with like an action anime, it's like
that would be wild.
Out of nowhere. You know what I mean? Just like just completely opposite of everything he's done. That I think that would be incredible.
Yeah, that would be crazy. I would want to see that, to be honest, as well.
And then next one on the list, the late and great Satoshi Kon, known for his very mind-altering thriller types of movies that really forced you to like pay attention and really look at what he was doing. I think out of all the directors that we're about to mention, I think Kon had the best editing, or at least his grasp on the use of editing was done.
Agreed.
Is done really, really, really well. And you notice that style throughout all of his movies. Yeah, the transition god, Akari says in the chat, like he knew exactly what he wanted and how to execute it. That was like such a signature thing. So if you haven't heard some of his movies, he did Perfect Blue, Paprika, Millennium Actress, Tokyo Godfathers, and the first in the trilogy of Memories, which I've seen most of these, Memories, Actress, and Blue, which were all fantastic movies. I don't think I've ever seen anything from him that I didn't like. He's definitely another like super strong resume when it comes to anime films, and I think he really so not to say that Your Name wasn't, but I feel like Kon knew how to do movies really well. like
Yes.
an actual movie, like a cohesive, not cohesive, but like a complete story. You know, I never was felt like wanting more from any of his films, which I think is a good thing. And
Yes.
to come to do that with films that really are thought provoking is, you know, honestly, like on a technical level, like that's like amazing, right? Because like you see when you hear psychological, like some of the things that you think about are like, you know,
It's a hard
Inception
genre.
or like
Yeah.
Shawshank Redemption. You know what I mean? A lot of these really like huge, impactful films that make you really think about, you know, the ending and kind of make you want more in terms of like, you know, finishing it. You're not really satisfied with it, but I feel like the way he executes all of his movies, like you're satisfied to the point where it's not that you want another movie, but you know, you're kind of exploring the idea of like how it would have ended, you know, differently, right? Or how you interpret the ending, you know. And I think he does a really his approach to it is just so so interesting. So but what's your take on Satoshi Kon?
Satoshi Kon is probably my favorite director in general ever. I especially spent this year going through his repertoire. I got very interested in him when I watched Perfect Blue last year, I think, or it might have been 2017. No, I think it was 2018. But I found Perfect Blue. I can't even remember how I stumbled across it, but I watched it and I became totally obsessed. I was like, holy shit, what is this? Like, this is awesome. I'm a huge horror junkie. I love horror films. And I never, psychological is like my favorite type of horror. And I never found a American film that I really attached myself to. You know, there's tons that I like. But I don't know. Perfect Blue specifically is probably my favorite film ever, my favorite psychological horror film. It's just so good. But I love Kahn's mastery of direction. Like you said, his films all feel really complete, and not all of them are horror either. I've seen all of his films, and also including his series Paranoia Agent, except for Tokyo Godfathers, because I'm actually saving Tokyo Godfathers to be my 100th anime of this year, which should line up with Christmas time, which is when people tell you to watch it, despite it being kind of depressing. But yeah, I love everything from Kon. I think I did Perfect Blue first, and then I did Millennium Actress, Paranoid Agent, Paprika, Memories, and then I'll be doing Tokyo Godfathers. And yeah, I loved Perfect Blue. Obviously, I just said Millennium Actress actually really blew me away. And at first, I was really confused because I thought all he did was horror. And so I'm watching this, and I was like, "Is this gonna get scary or something soon?"
Mm-hmm.
But it didn't, and it just had this really good message at the end that I really loved, and it was just a super enjoyable film. And it really showed Kahn's ability to do different types of stories and his unique. That film specifically shows him as the transition god. I mean, wow.
Yeah.
So good. And Memories Part 1, I want to say, besides Perfect Blue, is probably the second creepiest to me. I think that was really well done and blew the other Memories films out of the water. And Paprika, I'd say was the one I was a little disappointed in, but not as, I mean, it's still a fantastic film. It felt complete. I just was a little confused during some of it, but visually it was stunning. So that's that. But yeah, Kon, I think is probably my favorite director, and I really like General Franchi says. He said he wanted to do one final movie called Dreaming Machine before his death, but it's been put on hold because Masaya Maruyama of Madhouse said no Japanese animation directors could match Kahn's level of ability. I'd read a lot about that because I started getting into Kahn, and yeah, they had promised that it would be finished, but I think the most recent update was that they really don't know because they want to do it justice, and there's just nobody that can do Kahn. So I'm not sure if we'll ever really get that, in which case Paprika would be our last bit of Kahn. But yeah, I think the man is a mastermind.
Yeah. The dude obviously knew what he was doing like the entire time. Like he was definitely a generational talent. So it'll be interesting to see if anyone can really match up to him. Like there's like a cycle when it comes to like people who are like extremely gifted within their field, and we're coming up again like in terms of like what the cycle, you know what I mean? Like in basketball, you get like the Kobe Bryant followed by the LeBron followed by whoever's next, you know?
Yeah.
So like in terms of like the creative cycle and how that usually works, like I think we're gonna be due for another director that really kills it in that space, in the same type of style of movie. So that'll be exciting to look out for. Next, we have another director that I would say is one of the like so it's Mamoru Hosoda, who, God, I really think he should do anime, like
Yeah.
just regular
He's
anime
huge on
series. Yeah, he's done so many movies. Like if you know anything about Digimon and you've seen the movies, like that was him. He did Summer Wars, The Boy and His Beast, Girl Who Left Through Time, Wolf Children, Mirai, no Mirai, and he even did the One Piece movie 6, which was like kind of random. But if yeah, what's one of the most incredible things is that when you watch Hosoda and you watch all of his films in order, you see progression of improvement. Like you see how he learns from each film and how he's making something better and better. Like I think each movie just improves upon whatever the previous movie had lacked, and it just like so he has another project that's unannounced that I think he's gonna reveal either this or next year, which I'm really stoked for, because coming off of Mirai no Mirai, like he did a really good job with that film. Like that was probably like possibly my favorite out of the entirety of the ones that I've seen. But like it felt like the most,
I've heard a lot of good things.
Yeah, the most complete film when it comes to like the entirety of his work. And you can see where all the flaws that he had in his previous movies, where like I feel like, you know, A Girl Left Through Time really suffered in terms of like trying to like explain the story in a way that made sense. The Boy and the Beast kind of felt where not everything was completely developed. Like you were always like that. You definitely wanted more from. Summer Wars just felt like a rip off of Digimon to an extent, and it kind of was. But Mirai no Mirai, like it fleshes out the characters really well. The story is cohesive and you understand it. Like you're not really questioning the world too much. You really accepted it. It's immersive. It doesn't break. It doesn't really have like these hard set rules that are easy to break. And it just does a lot of things like on a technical level that are like really appealing as a fan of his work. So I am super stoked for his next one. Like he's probably the one I've invested the most into, considering I've seen like almost all these movies except one. But apart from that, that's, as you can tell, I'm probably the biggest fan of him out of all these directors so far. So what about you, Carell? What's your experience with him?
So I just started diving into Hosoda this year, actually. Before I had only seen One Piece movie 6. I had a lot of his films on my list to watch. I just never really dove into them because I just hadn't really been watching movies for a while. But I find it interesting. I have 2 films left of his. I haven't seen The Girl Who Leapt Through Time, and I haven't seen Mirai yet. Those are my last 2. But I find from what I've seen that his franchise films were the most complete. Now I'm sure Mirai will end up probably taking that from me, but I think the reason is because Hosoda creates these characters that are really likable, and he also has these sort of complex plots and stories for his films, and he wants to spend the time to develop the characters, but either the characters lose the time development or the story loses its time because he just doesn't have enough time in a film to tell the story that he wants to. And that's why I think when you said that he should do anime, I kind of agree. But yeah, I think everyone kind of does have a different favorite Hosoda film, but for different reasons. My favorite so far has been The Boy and the Beast, but I also know that it did feel incomplete and it felt a bit rushed at the end, but I just enjoyed it so much that the enjoyment level was like through the roof, that I didn't really care too much. But when I'm going down the list that we have, Wolf Children was the first non-franchise that I watched from him, which is pretty much his most acclaimed one, I would say. And I liked it. I really did, but I was not happy with the ending. not that it felt incomplete, I just didn't like the ending. And I know I thought I was the only one that thought that, but I guess I'm not, which made me feel a little better. Overall, it was still a great film, but I just wasn't totally happy with the ending. I already said The Boy and the Beast. I really loved it. Summer Wars was actually my favorite after I'd watched it until I got to The Boy and the Beast. I did really enjoy Summer Wars, and I watched it before the Digimon movies, and I also haven't really seen Digimon, so I'm not biased towards the Digimon films, but having watched the Digimon movies, the Summer Wars is a complete copy of War Game, almost. But it takes what War Game, the premise of War Game, and then extends it to the familial themes and stuff like that. And I did think it was a really cute and enjoyable film. And it didn't feel all the way complete, but more complete than some of his other ones. I think just because of some of the random stuff he threw in at the end, it didn't feel too complete. I haven't got Dumira yet, and then One Piece movie 6 is it's tied with Boy and the Beast for my favorite still, and I might be a little biased because I'm a huge One Piece fan, but I do just think he really elevated the One Piece narrative. He told the story of One Piece movie 6 is like a bit darker than what One Piece usually is, and I really liked that he took it that way. And I think his directing style fit One Piece super well. I mean, you watched the movie, so wouldn't you agree that it felt like you had said when we were watching it together that if all of One Piece was directed like this, you would love it a lot more. And I kind of agreed. It definitely heightened the One Piece comedy a lot with the different cuts back and forth. I thought it was really funny. The shots that he chose with, and then the direction he took the movie in, I thought it was super well done. And so, yeah, I'm also excited to see Hosoda's next film. I'm excited to finish these last two because I do hear better things about these last two than some of the other ones. And it was written by Oda, which is why I really enjoyed it. And I kind of wish Hosoda could have just joined the One Piece team, because I think they worked that it worked really well together with Oda and Hosoda. Sort of Oda's great storytelling and Hosoda's great directing. I don't know. It was just really good. But I'm excited to see more of Hosoda. I do really enjoy his directing style, and I like what he tries to do with his films. They're all really enjoyable films, so they're worth the watch. They just, like you said, he progresses every film that he makes, and I'm excited to see his next one.
Yeah, and it's the movies that he had with the franchise, which were like the One Piece and the Digimon movies. Like he knows, like, I don't know how invested he was like in watching the series themselves, but he clearly knows how to take characters and put them correctly to make it an appealing experience while you're watching the movie.
Well, I think those ended up so good. I mean, Oda did write movie 6 for the most part, but Hosoda was able to just highlight his directing abilities in the film, and also, they didn't really need to take any time to develop characters, to do anything like that, because it's a franchise film, so people already know the characters. So I think that's why it's one of my favorites, and I know you and other people love Digimon movies too, and I'm sure it's kind of the same thing. Is you get to see, you really just get to see the prime of Hosoda's skills on a technical level, which he's fantastic on a technical level. He's just working on perfecting the actual story part.
Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so a lot to be said about him. Definitely check out all these movies that we've mentioned so far.
Yes, they're great.
Yeah. So next we're gonna move on to and then after this we're gonna break off into like a little bit more just in depth, like genre specific, just something that we just want to talk about. But Studio Ghibli. You pretty much have to mention them, and Miyazaki, completely essential and like pivotal to the anime film industry, being legitimized in any way, shape, or form. Really brought a light to people wanting to it gets people into anime, watching these movies. So they're pretty impactful on the medium as a whole. Even though I wouldn't say all of it is anime, like you can argue that it is, but I mean, some movies just wouldn't really fit that. I mean, they kind of meet it and hence like definition wise. Like for example, Princess Kaguya, it didn't feel like an anime film, but it was still really good.
It's definitely Japanese style.
Yeah, yeah. It was
So
if like how we don't call like animation, um, like animated movies like cartoons. You know, some of them that we have like that are actual movies. You know, it's like it's just a style of film. I guess is the best way to describe it. I don't know. It's weird. But so apart from this list, I'm just gonna give you my top 5 Ghibli films. Number 5 is probably the Wind Rises. Yeah, you have it right there. Wind Rises. Number 4 would be Laputa, Castle in the Sky. I absolutely adored that movie. And then following it would be Princess Mononoke at 3. That was a trip. That was a fantastic ride. I had no idea what to expect from it. But it was just enjoyable. I don't know. You can really say that for all of Miyazaki's films or just Ghibli in general. And then 2 would be have to be like Kiki's Delivery Service. Like that film just brought me back to being a kid. Like it really captures like the essence of nostalgia really well. Like it didn't really have to do a lot in terms of like a complex plot or anything, but it's a very attractive film. You know, may not be the best looking, but I don't know. There's just like a weird thing about it that really pulls you in. And then number 1 for me would obviously be Spirited Away. I absolutely love Spirited Away. The first time I saw it was when I was like 12, I think, and I still remember the movie. Like something that's insanely impactful. Like it's like one of my just favorite movies in general. But it's what it does mentally is like so trippy and beautiful at the same time. But yeah, those would definitely be my top 5, which I need to do a rewatch of Spirited Away. It's been way too long. That film is amazing. What about you, Kuro?
yeah, so also for this year, I've sort of went on a Ghibli journey. I watched Ghibli before this year. I started watching Ghibli, I think, when I was a freshman in high school. With Totoro was my first Ghibli film. And I had watched about 6 or 7 of the films when I was in high school, and then I never really watched them. I forgot what happened in a lot of them. And so this year, I decided to rewatch some of the ones that I didn't remember well and start watching, basically just going through all of Ghibli's big films. So I finished all of Miyazaki's big films, and now I'm just moving on to some of the lingering ones from Takahata and some other just bigger name films like Poppy Hill, when Marnie was there, stuff like that. I haven't seen those ones yet, but that's what I'm planning to do. So I love Studio Ghibli. I've definitely been even more into Studio Ghibli with all these rewatches. I have a Kiki's Delivery Service tattoo, so I definitely love Ghibli. Miyazaki is probably, again, one of my favorite directors behind Kon. And yeah, I'd probably just go through my top 5 again. I posted them on Kitsu, and I have watched a few more films since then, but I don't think my top 5 has actually changed yet. Which my top 5 was Whisper of the Heart. That's number 5. What was my number 4? Whisper of the Heart. Wow, I'm like really. Wind Rises, I think, was my number 4. Whisper of the Heart, yes. Whisper of the Heart, The Wind Rises, Kiki's Delivery Service, number 3, La Puta, Castle in the Sky, number 2, Princess Mononoke was my number 1. I absolutely loved Whisper of the Heart. Is a very, very cute romance. I love the way that they styled it, and I also loved that they were very like normal looking people. You know how like in romance anime series and stuff like that, they try to, oh, this girl is so beautiful, oh, this guy is so attractive. Like they were just cute, like average looking people. And I found that pretty interesting. But yeah, it's just a very cute film. I certainly enjoyed it. I liked Ghibli take on romance for sure. The Wind Rises, fantastic. Not much to say. Kiki's, I think Benji covered Kiki really well. It's definitely a great coming of age story. And I actually got to see it in theaters for my birthday, and it was really good. I've seen it like 6 times now. La Puta, I think, impressed me the most. I had seen it years ago, and I rewatched it, and I I almost wanted to make it my favorite. I just thoroughly enjoyed it. Like it's so adventurous. The characters are super fun. It's very well rounded. The start to finish, everything is very cohesive. And also I found it interesting. So the entire time I'm sitting here like, why does this sense of adventure just feel so good for me? And I realized that the main character, not the main girl, the main boy, Sheeta. No, the girl Sheeta, whatever his name was, I can't remember right now. He's voiced by Luffy, and this adventurous feel. I was like, this kind of makes me feel like One Piece. Like, I mean, this came out before One Piece, but discovering this different, this castle in the sky is much like a One Piece island, and discovering what's on it, and the conflict, and the main character voiced by Luffy definitely acted a lot like Luffy. It was just, I realized that I was like, maybe that's why I loved this film so much. But yeah, La Puta was definitely great, and Princess Mononoke is my holy grail of Ghibli. I don't think anything will ever top it for me, but enjoyment level, La Puta is really enjoyable. So yeah, Ghibli. I think everyone knows Ghibli. So
Yeah, definitely. If y'all haven't experienced Ghibli, go out there and do it. Like, you'll be doing yourself a favor. You're always gonna find something that you're gonna like.
Yeah.
It's crazy. But apart from that, those are just, so that's just all a sample of the movie anime space. So I would not say that I'm surprised. I would think that most people that watch anime might not watch anime movies really outside of like the franchise stuff.
And some of the like big name popular ones like Spirited Away or Your Name or something.
Exactly. Like I don't know. Like when you like the My Hero Academia movie, I was like, what? It won?
I didn't even watch it. I didn't watch it.
I mean, the fight scene was cool. I mean, I watched part of it, but it's just...
Wasn't Mira... No, Mira was nominated, wasn't it? I don't understand how that didn't
Yeah. That's a difficult...
Yeah. Corey said the double Detroit smash was cool. That's it. Basically.
Yeah, pretty much. But... So this is one thing. And Kuro, if there's anything else you wanted to bring it up as well. But so when it comes to anime movies, right?
Yes.
And you do or like the decision is made to do an anime movie. I feel like there has to be a reason why you're animating the movie, right?
Yeah, there's a story you're trying to tell.
Yeah, I mean, even beyond that,
and that you think it is better told in animation.
Yeah, exactly. So what does this animation do to improve it, right?
Yeah.
And this question was so much more apparent with I Want to Eat Your Pancreas, right? Which, by the way, go watch it. Fucking fantastic.
I haven't gotten to see it. It is on my list. I am avoiding watching it currently just because I don't want to cry. I know I'm going to, so I'm waiting for a day when I'm in the mood to cry, and then I'm going to watch it. I know I am. That's why it took me forever to watch Wolf Children, because everyone was like, oh, you're going to cry, but I actually didn't cry at Wolf Children, so, there's that. But I know I will cry at this one, so.
So, yeah, and so the reason why the thought came to my head was because why would this movie just not work with actual actors, right? The story seems to be appropriate for it. The setting seems to be appropriate for it, right? Even someone described it as like it's like a fault in the stars, something like that. I've never seen A Fault in Your Stars.
A Fault in Your Stars, whatever the words. I read the book and something.
Yeah. So it just felt like The Notebook or whatever, like those types of movies. Yeah, but it's
probably less pretentious.
Yeah, so
continue.
Yeah. So I was wondering as I was watching the film.
Yeah.
Like why did they make this? Why does this exist? Right?
Yeah.
And the more I watched the film, right, the more I was able to be compelled by one of the things that probably gets overlooked a lot of the times because we're so oversaturated with a lot of these typical romance movies. So in place of photography and location and shot composition, when it comes to like blocking a scene with like real tangible places, right, you would substitute that for animation. And yes, Akari, I know there's a live action. I'm not gonna watch it.
You're not gonna watch it.
Hell no, because I don't want it to ruin my love for this movie already. But the animation itself lends to making a typical story more compelling by further emphasizing all the points via the animation, right? So you would have certain things that you would hear or lines that you'd experience within this type of movie. But then the detail to animation and the emphasis on it just further accentuates those scenes in the movie and makes it more impactful overall. You know, there is like one scene that like comes to mind is, you know, when her condition that's been kept a secret from everybody else but the dude, right? And he's like totally aware of it. And when they're in a hotel, right? There's a scene in a hotel where something gets revealed to him that she's experiencing. The way that it's revealed, because the animation is so detailed and pretty, like it pops so well within that one frame, it feels more impactful because you're seeing the reality of this thing that she's having to deal with for the first time. And it just feels a lot more impactful overall. And I feel like you would only really get that via this animation, right? Whereas like you've seen this thing done before in real life romance movies, so it may not feel as impactful. But that's kind of where the reason comes in, like why would you animate this? So it's the animation that pushes it forward, you know?
Well, yeah. I think I find in anime in general, but in some films as examples, that you know, there's a special thing about elevating a slice of life slash romance, or you know, not action movie based in animation. I find that certain visual cues, certain character animations in the way that they move, and certain sort of symbols they choose to do that you can really only see in animation. I do really think elevate the story. You see that a lot in Ghibli, and you see that a lot in a certain studio that mostly does anime, but certain films. This is a great transition, ha ha ha. Like A Silent Voice from Kyoto Animation, because Kyoto Animation is known for sort of elevating these slice of life-esque stories with their specific character animations. And so, you know, A Silent Voice is a film that it's probably is done live action already. I can't see why it wouldn't be at this point, in all honesty. But I find that animated wise, some of the shot composition, like you said about Pancreas, you know, the certain visuals they choose to go with, the way the characters move, I just think that the animated version truly does elevate the story. And you know, yeah, I don't know, it's just a film that, and most of the films on this list that we've talked about, I just do think suit being animated better. I mean, that's just me personally, because I love the way that people, that directors choose to visualize things. But yeah, especially something like A Silent Voice and Pancreas and a couple others on this list, I just think they really benefit from being animated, despite them being stories that could just be told in live action.
Yeah. Oh yeah, totally. And another one would be Your Name. The
Yeah.
the
Oh yeah. That.
the thing that causes all the mayhem.
Yeah.
You would have to like use CGI and like, you know, all this like fake stuff, and it would just completely ruin the impact of it overall, you know?
Yeah. There's certain scenes that I can think of in each film, in A Silent Voice, for example, that I picture, and I'm like, I just don't see a live action version being able to depict that scene perfectly. Without trying to spoil A Silent Voice. There's a specific scene, sort of at the climax towards the end, where you see sort of underwater and over top of water, and just the way that the camera moves and the shot composition that they chose to do, and the colors, and I can't see a live action giving more impact to that scene than the animated version did. And another film on this list that I also think definitely benefits from the animation portion is a film called Colorful, which I know a lot of people may or may not have seen, but it's kind of like Haibane Renmai, but not. It's sort of it's about a boy that, or I guess a boy, a man, I don't really remember how old he was exactly, but he dies, and he goes to like purgatory or whatever, and they say, hey, if you go and live the life of this kid who killed himself, then that can be your sort of atonement, and then you can come back to the real world or whatever. And so it's about him living through this kid's life, and there's so many visuals, emphasis on the title being colorful, that I just think, they look like paintings. They really visualize the meaning, because the whole series is about finding meaning in your life and depression and topics like that. And I just think that an animated version of that and visuals is just really enhances that kind of story. There's so many films and series that and that's why I like anime, that I just cannot see as live action, because the visuals that they choose to depict certain things and certain emotions are just way too overpowering.
Mm-hmm. And what I really like is that, so now, right now, if you want to make a drama, if you want to make a romance, if you want to make a slice of life movie, that's an independent IP, you have to completely, like, I wouldn't say completely knock it out of the park, but you need to put some work into the animation.
Yeah.
Because unlike an animated series, right, you can forgive it not having fantastic animation via the extensive writing and character development that you get. And then, fortunately, anime also gets the benefit from the other way as well, where if the writing is poor, if the animation and directing is done extremely well, like, you'll still get the same impact as well. But however, with a film, you have so much time. So if if you don't offer the stellar animation, you're going to be losing a lot out on the overall impact of your story. At least because, I don't know about you, have you seen a badly animated movie that wasn't action and that was an independent IP? Like,
no.
Of course, General Franchise would say yes in the chat. He's the arbiter of the things that I've never seen in my life. Like, he's brought me some crazy stuff. But for the most part, like, you, as a casual anime goer, when you watch all these big name movies, like, nothing's bad.
They look great, yeah.
Yeah, nothing's animated terribly, And I feel like that's something they picked up early on, and they're like, oh my god, we got, like, what's the reason this is being animated? Why not just make this a live action? And they've really killed it, in that regard. So that's what I'll say again. We're like in a renaissance of slice of life and drama, right? I just want more follow up to what we get from Weathering Into You, right? Like, give us more. You know what I mean? We want more and more and more, to further fuel our love for this style of movie. Granted, I want fucking action to come back. Like, give me my old school, because my two of my favorite movies, right, Spirited Away aside, is Ninja Scroll and Sword of the Stranger. Ninja Scroll is fucking fantastic action ninja movie. Like, shit was badass, right? And then Sword of the Stranger was another amazing action movie.
It was a really fun movie.
It was so good. Like, and I want more of that. Like, give me more of that. None of this, like, bullshit, like, family friendly type stuff. Like, give us some action. Give us some badassery. Right. And the fact that, we can name, Silent Voice, Your Name, Mirai, like, we're naming all these movies. None of them are action. None of them have the badassery. You know what I mean? Granted, we got Broly, which was fantastically animated. Great. But we want more than that. And I want it to go out more into other things, not just franchise things, like, all the time. you know, because I felt like in the beginning that's what they were really trying for. Because I'm not gonna lie, there are some really bad, hilarious action movies from way back when.
Yes, yes.
And they all involve demons for some reason, which was pretty funny to see as well. But it as a whole was like, that was an interesting experience as we were diving into older anime movies. But seeing that, I'm like, man, I want that to come back. I want more action. I want more badassery. Like, I want more cool shit in anime films. Okay, that's just what I want. Just give me that. I'll be fine. Like, granted, like, I'll take my rom-com slice of life, but I still want the fucking action. Just give it to me.
Speaking of classic films, I'm going to transition because I had said earlier about how before the 2000s there was I can really only think of 4 prevalent older films that I think have impacted stuff today or that people still talk about. One of them I'm not going to talk about yet because it's a franchise film, but I'm sure everyone knows what it is. But 2 super huge films, and then one that I also recently watched that I thought was super impactful. Akira, Ghost in the Shell, and Angel's Egg. And I think all 3 of those also do the whole visual storytelling thing and really, really elevate it. And they definitely have this charm to it. And I really wish that more films like that could have came out of that era, because I think the charm of the cell animation and the older animation of those films really adds to the overall experience you have with it.
Yeah, and animation or anime is like one of the best ways to do, like, it was literally visual storytelling. You know what I mean? Like, it's you can paint whatever picture you want, and that can be translated a lot easier in animation than you would in a movie where there isn't a lot of talking. You know, where you have to get like a lot of a lot of these different things really have to connect well. In order for it to really make sense. But with anime, with like how experienced, obviously Japan is with it, it's like, give us more animation movies, but it's hard when something isn't going to make a ton of money. The money is where it's at. If it's not making the money, like, it's not gonna get done. And what makes the money? One Piece, Detective Conan,
Yeah,
like all
Dragon Ball.
these solidified franchises make it happen. And if you're not attached to that, how are you gonna get a studio to back you? How are you gonna get the funding to make it? And it's an unfortunate cause, but I just see that's the thing. We need to get over this slump before we can even think about live action anime movies, right?
I don't even want to think about it. In all honesty, my thing with live action films is like I don't see why they have to be live action. Like, I don't know. I get the whole like wanting to appeal to the Western audience or whatever, because they might not watch it animated, but they'll watch it live action. But I think the whole appeal of anime is the fact that it's animated. I mean, we're talking about all these films that are enhanced based on their
yeah. And you know what's funny? Every live action anime movie, like the ones that we've gotten here, were all action.
Yeah.
See, we need more fuck. Okay. That's it.
But another thing I wanted to touch on was one of the great charms I've also found with anime films is that the soundtracks are actually fucking insane for a lot of them. Even just some of the ones we mentioned in the past. I mean, Ghibli has, got gorgeous soundtracks for all their films. But I mean, I loved Your Name's soundtrack. I love Silent Voice's soundtrack. Khan's soundtrack is awesome. And then Ghost in the Shell's soundtrack. I mean, I could not stop re-listening to that one scene. I mean, the really famous scene with the creepy sounding choir, and with Kiritsugu, or what, I can't remember her name at the time. With her head, she turns and it's got like Japan in her background. She's going down the river. That like big scene. I mean, that was like so atmospheric with the music. I mean, I had not like felt that type of like the hair on my arm rose. I was like, holy shit. And a film like Angel's Egg, which is very interesting because Angel's Egg has like 0 dialogue. It's all based on music. I think it just really elevates the visual. I think the cool thing that anime films do is mixing. I find that Japanese musicians, especially people like Yoko Kanno and a lot, I do really like the way they compose stuff. And so I think that their music mixed with these visuals just really over the top does the film so well.
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie, I don't fucking pay attention to soundtracks at all.
I do because I'm a big music nerd. Also, Franchi's, I know there wasn't zero dialogue. That's like a hyperbole.
Yo,
There's
my favorite music soundtrack was Black Panther. That's what it was. I love that soundtrack. I listened to it a billion times. Yo, Kendrick is fire. All right, Conda forever.
You should. Well, I'm surprised you haven't listened to at least the Your Name soundtrack.
No, I don't listen to it. I don't listen to movie soundtracks. I don't
band.
listen to movie soundtracks in general. I find them boring, to be honest.
I'm a big fan.
Without the movie. I just don't. You know what I mean? Like I barely listen to anime soundtracks, like OPs.
That makes sense. I literally have a whole folder of like OSTs and background music.
I don't fuck with that. Nah, like it's a cohesive experience for me. I'd rather not partake in it, an individual slice. I want the whole thing, right? Don't give me I don't want just the patty, just the cheese. I want the whole fucking burger, okay?
But yeah, I think now that we've done a lot of these individual films, unless you have more you want to talk about, we can start talking about some franchise films.
I mean, all I got is Naruto and Dragon Ball Z. I've seen a shit ton of those, and they all start and end the same.
That's very true. I put together a list of most acclaimed / popular franchise films, but I've not seen most of these because you have to have seen the franchises. But the list I put together based on the first 2 pages of my anime list and Annie list. I guess of the most popular franchise films, I had Gintama Movie 2, all of the Kitsu Monogatari films, Fate's Day Night, Heaven's Feel films, The Disappearance of Haruhi Suzumiya, End of Evangelion, which was one of the 4 I referenced earlier, the Madoka Magica Rebellion film, the Natsume Yujicho movie, the K-On! Movie, Liz and the Bluebird, Dragon Ball Super Broly, One Piece Film Z, and a couple other One Piece films, and the Gurren Lagann films I saw were the most.
I've seen none of those. The only thing I watched was these Dragon Balls. I just watched the fight.
You didn't even watch You didn't watch all of Broly?
Mm-mm. I just watched the fight.
That's wild. Of franchise films. See, I feel like I've had a better franchise film experience than you have because I've seen you saw End of Evangelion with us. What are you saying?
It's all right. I don't like franchise movies. That's so crazy. I barely like the One Piece one.
The End of Evangelion is not. I'm a bigger fan.
I mean, it's not even a fucking movie. It's just the rest of it.
I mean, it's an alternate ending. It's not really the rest of it, which is this. Well, no, the Madoka Magica films are the rest of it, but End of Evangelion is not. Yeah, the End of Evangelion.
Okay, Akari, it's not the rest of it.
It's an alternate ending.
Whatever, alternate fucking.
I love the End of Evangelion though, just on a directing and visual level, because Hideki Anno, praise that man. The third film is the rest of Madoka. That's what I had meant. The first 2 are just recaps. Yes.
Akari in the chat says, "I'm gonna fucking end you, Benji. Try me, bitch." Yeah, I do. I don't like. I Kuro, if you understood my hatred for franchise films,
I can think of a franchise film right now that would change your mind.
Name one.
But you'd have to like the series first.
Okay, see? That's what I'm fucking saying. I'd rather just watch the goddamn series and fuck the film.
No, don't fuck the film, because I'm going to reference Gintama Movie 2 here.
Get the bitch. I'm done. Okay, this is the end of the podcast. Fuck this. Fucking recommending me Gintama. I need to watch fucking... I don't want to fucking watch Gintama.
You're not gonna watch Gintama?
Well, I will eventually, but I don't care about the. I don't want.
No, you have to listen. Why you should care about the fucking movie if you listen for 3 seconds. Gintama Movie 2 is the highest rated franchise film on every website. Every website you find, it is the highest rated anime franchise film. It is for a fucking reason. And Gintama Movie 2. Now, this is interesting to me because you had talked about before how you view franchise films as you think they're supposed to add. So I view franchise films as additional arcs where you think they're supposed to add something special to the overall series. But Gintama Movie 2, so I guess, I don't know, maybe based on your interpretation, you might not actually think it's the best thing. But it's basically an additional arc, but it is so fucking well done. Because the way that Gintama is written, the majority of their serious arcs are pretty much movie length in episode number. So it just feels like another one of those, but it's literally so well done. It's very emotional. It's very cohesive from beginning to end. It has perfect mix of comedy and of seriousness. The action is fucking phenomenal. It makes sense, and it does have certain elements that you won't get unless you've seen the series. So that connection and certain things that sort of recur. It's a story you wouldn't necessarily have gotten within the series. So it does add something, I guess. But I don't know. I think that perhaps that since that was one of the first franchise films I had seen, I think before that it was only the One Piece films and End of Evangelion and I guess the Madoka Magica films. So it really set the precedent for me. I was like, oh shit, franchise films are pretty good, or can be at least. But I also think One Piece films, some of the One Piece films are good too. So
Okay, so this is what pissed me off. Is that something happens in the movie and it's never referenced again in the anime. I hate that.
Movies are meant to be separate.
I hate that. But if it's part of a franchise, it should be in the fucking franchise.
Well, it depends. I mean,
if you give me Rainbow Rasengan, I want to see a fucking Rainbow Rasengan again, okay? I don't give a fuck if the moon needed to line up in that specific instant, in that specific time, in that specific railway, okay?
I mean, it's a little different with Gintama because Gintama, at least in terms of action, doesn't give you anything. Like it's not like One Piece or Naruto or some of those big names shonen where like they get power up, they get like a cool new move or something. That's not how Gintama fights even work in the first place. So it can't really give you anything like that. But also, I mean, besides new characters introduced, at least in Gintama, like most of the past arcs until the final like 3 seasons aren't.
You know what? I do like franchise movies. I only like the Dragon Ball Z ones.
That's interesting.
Because they reference the fucking characters back in the story.
Yeah, but that's because Toriyama just isn't involved in like majority of Dragon Ball anymore.
Yo, who
so
gives
they can
a
just do whatever they want with it.
Yo, he fucking goes Gogeta in the show. He fucking goes Gogeta in the movie against Janemba. He fucking does the fusion shit. Fucking Dead Zone where he fights Garlic. That shit has relevance. Garlic's a recurring character in the actual fucking show. Okay.
But the reason that franchise films end up being this way is because typically they air while the series is ongoing, both the manga and the anime, and they can't, like, the authors do write them, but they already have their story written for the most part that doesn't include these elements, so they can't just add them in. The reason it works with Dragon Ball is because Toriyama's not really involved in half of it.
Not my fault
anymore.
They should do it. Fuck you guys for non-canon bullshit.
That's just not how it works.
Cooler movies. It's still referenced.
Gintama is so cool. That movie's so good. Like,
Cooler even returns. He returns. And it's still part of the movie. And it makes sense. Franchise as a whole. Okay? Fuck.
But that's because they're able to include these movies in the written narrative. Like I said, things
that's
like
what
One
I
Piece,
want. And so
Gintama,
that's why Dragon Ball Z. That's why Dragon Ball Z has the best franchise movies. Quote me that 2019 to 2020.
One Piece is already.
Fuck you, Akari. Let me live my fantasy out.
But
and he
also,
is mentioned. Frieza is mentioned as having an older brother by his father. Okay.
I do want to say
before the Android Saga,
that I think the new One Piece film will change your mind, because the new One Piece film does connect to the series and does add stuff to the series. Apparently, I obviously haven't seen it yet because it's not in English. There's no subtitled version yet.
Kuro, there's a problem there. Yeah. You know what the problem is?
What?
I gotta watch 900 fucking episodes.
You already fucking said you're gonna watch One Piece, so I don't want to hear it. Yeah, we already started it.
Well, I'll fucking catch up there when I'm fucking.
But I'm just saying that when you do watch it, it does. I read a synopsis from Oda himself talking about.
I'm going to fucking annihilate.
It is faster. No, it is faster. It is faster to read the manga.
I don't read.
I know you don't. But Oda talked about quite a few things, and that the movie will reveal that have to do with the actual ending of One Piece and the overall narrative. So it's actually
that's pretty sick. I actually really like that.
It's a huge deal, yeah. Which I obviously haven't seen it yet, so I don't know. But everyone who's seen it says it was phenomenal. So I am very excited. But yeah, I think, at least the Gintama film is my favorite franchise film, but it doesn't necessarily add extra narrative to Gintama, but that's just like how Gintama is laid out in the first place. Like most of the serious arcs until we get to season 4 don't connect. They don't really get referenced again unless they introduce a new character. That's just not how Gintama works. That you take it or leave it. But so the movie just fit in great because it just matched. It felt like the rest of Gintama. But I think One Piece films, do a pretty good job. Film Z, which is my favorite one, which is the one I put on this list, does also reference new things, but not really new power-ups or anything like that. Just characters that do actually get referenced in the anime. And the same thing with Strong World. There's a character in Strong World that had actually been referenced previously in the anime before Strong World was written. And so they ended up writing Strong World surrounded by this character that they mentioned in the anime. So that did also connect a bit. So One Piece does do that. But I get what you're saying, but I guess it just really depends on what you want out of a franchise film. Like I said, I view them as just extensions of the actual series, additional arcs, and whether they get referenced again or not doesn't really matter to me because in all honesty, in a lot of shows, past arcs don't always get referenced. There are some arcs that never get referenced again. So it doesn't have to be referenced or connect clearly. Obviously, if it doesn't make any fucking sense at all, then it's not a good movie, which is why, like, pretty much any One Piece movie that's not written by Oda is not very good. Because it doesn't make any fucking sense with the series. But I don't know. I also think of stuff in the case of Kyoto Animation, which I haven't seen either of these series. Well, I've seen the one series, I never finished it. But like Disappearance of Haruhi Suzumiya and the Kengon movie, everyone says those are the best parts.
Okay, you need to stop with your lies. Okay.
What do you mean with my lies?
Because
what do you mean?
all this is all a ploy, and I know what you're doing. Okay, this is all a ploy to get me to continue watching One Piece and to start Gintama. I know your tricks at this point. Get the fuck out of here. Okay, I will watch it.
It's just because it's the best series to exist.
I'm already reading a manga. Okay. By the way, I'm reading Yona. You guys, I forgot to tell you last week, but I'm loving it. By the way,
I'm so proud of him. Yona's so fucking good.
Yona is great, and Hawk is best boy. You shut the fuck up. I'm only 18 chapters in, but I'm calling it now.
No, he is best boy. There's no argument. No one will argue with you over that.
True that. Okay, was there anything else you wanted to touch on?
No, I think we really covered everything.
Perfect. Well, what have we learned today? Franchise films suck. Original IPs only.
Not all of them.
Get the fuck out of here. We need more action. Not less slice of life, but more action. And rest in peace, Satoshi Kon. You were a true
He's a god.
Yeah. Anyways.
Love Satoshi Kon.
Well, that's the podcast, folks. Thank you guys for tuning in. Hopefully next week we'll have Etyo here. Even though
yes.
I say things every week that sometimes don't come true. So if you guys don't already know,
we
go
hope
ahead.
that he's feeling better next week.
Yeah, he was actually legitimately sick, so he couldn't make it.
He's very sick. Yeah, he's been really sick.
Yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed. Be sure to check out all our social medias, like, subscribe, comment, rate, do whatever you guys do on the interweb. Share this podcast with people that like anime as well. I appreciate and love everybody that tuned in. Thank you for the subscriptions and follows that you guys have been giving us over the past couple weeks. We almost hit 100 followers, as well as we're, obviously we're going up and down with our subscriptions, but we're almost at 10 subscribers on the Twitch channel, which is always amazing to see. And everything is going awesome in the Discord as well. So if you haven't joined !Discord in the chat, or check out the links
so fun
down below. We have a lot of fun there. We chill, we do VC. It gets spicy. Okay, it gets so spicy. And be sure to check out the next movie for the movie club, which I totally forgot to post, which I'm doing after this. Anyways, go check that out. But apart from that, I love and appreciate all of you guys for tuning in and being a part of it. Any last words, Kuro?
No, you guys are great.
No. And
Opposite
you guys have a great rest of your week. I appreciate you. And we'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Bye.